My name is Danny Price, and today I'm going to be persuading my audience that political correctness needs to be scaled back in the workplace and in business labeling. A woman in a slum once said, "I used to think I was poor. Then they told me I wasn't poor, I was needy. They told me it was self-defeating to think of myself as needy, I was deprived. Then they told me underprivileged was overused, I was disadvantaged. I still don't have a dime, but I have a great vocabulary." This issue highlights the problems that political correctness are now causing in the workplace and in business labeling. And this is a relevant topic because of the ongoing debate that political correctness plays in such aspects. Politically correct language, today we're going to focus on two aspects: politically correct language in the workplace and in business labeling, focusing on the Washington Redskins. Today I'm going to show you that we need to reduce the amount of political correctness for three reasons. One, it limits communication in the workplace, it creates prejudices, and it also creates division among people in business labeling. So let's take a look at why we need to scale back political correctness. One of the main reasons that political correctness needs to be scaled back in the workplace is because it limits effective communication between colleagues. As Ellie et al. Points out, minorities are sometimes afraid to raise issues or concerns that they have in workplace scenarios because they fear that they will be looked at as playing the underprivileged card. Norton et al. Did a study called the colorblindness study in which they wanted to test effective communication between races. The way the study worked is you'd have pairs of you have pairs of two people, you either have two black people, two white people, or one person of each race. And what would happen is that in each pair you'd have a question and an answer. The answer would have a photograph of one person. The questioner would have an array of 32 photographs of different people, and they vary by background color, skin color, eye color, hair color, and and gender. And the questioner had to determine what photo the answer was looking at by asking as few questions as possible. In scenarios where the pair was one black and one white person, they rigged it so the white person was asking the questions, and in these instances the pair were less efficient because the questioner was afraid to ask what color the person in the photo was, and also that the people that tried to appear the most colorblind were the most hostile, which is an issue because political correctness is supposed to make us more friendly, and if it's doing the opposite, then it needs to be scaled back. The second reason that political correctness needs to be reduced in the workplace is because now it's creating its own prejudices and not eliminating them. An example of this is the euphemism treadmill, which is a temporary set of guidelines that determines what is politically correct. However, it's not permanent because as one word becomes politically correct, it slowly over time gains a negative connotation. And as it gains negative connotation, it is relegated to more and more to people who are prejudiced, so that eventually it is no longer politically correct, but entirely an epithet. And because of this, we need to continually add new terms that are politically correct. Also, this creates an undeserved hostility at the elderly because as more and more terms are introduced into lingo, the elderly are less inclined to keep up with modern language trends. And political correctness also needs to have a diminishing influence in business labeling. An example of this is in sports franchises such as the Washington Redskins. The opposing argument to this is that the name is offensive to Native Americans. However, I'm going to show that's not the case. First off, Daniel Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, has refused to change a team name despite all the criticism he has received. I believe that if he truly thought the name were offensive, he would not keep it so because of all this criticism. Also, if he truly wanted to offend Native Americans, I have a hard time believing he would do so by naming his billion-dollar company after Native Americans. Also, there were many factors that determined team names back in roughly the 1930s. One of these was geography. So the team names weren't there to make a statement about any group of individuals. It was more of a geographic locator and to create an identity with the area in which they were located. Also, there's the argument that Redskin, the use of the term Redskins portrays like vicious warrior-like qualities like other animal team names such as Timberwolves. However, the practice of naming teams after Native Americans predates naming teams after aggressive animals, so that argument is invalid as well. Also, there was an SI poll that ran, and in this poll, they interviewed Native Americans and the majority supported continuance. There was also another poll in which 90% of Native Americans took no offense to the team name. And even for the few that did not take offense, it would be unnecessary to rebuild an entire franchise over the minority who were offended. Also, the chief of the Virginia Potawatomi tribe said that he and his tribe would actually be offended if they changed the team name. And Roy Hawthorne, a member of the Navajo Code Talkers Association, said that he believes it's not only a name the team should keep, but it's a name that's American. Ben Shelley, the Navajo Nation president, has sat next to Dan Snyder at several games in the editor's box with him donning Redskins apparel. Now, while he has admittedly clashed with members of his tribal council and has been criticized for not being attentive to the needs of his nation, it's hard to believe that he would have been elevated to the highest position of power in his tribe without knowing how his fellow tribal members felt about an issue like this. Another criticism of the Redskins' origin is that the term refers to scalped Indian heads. However, as Hinton points out, this is just not the case. It was used by Native Americans as a term for themselves and was actually neutral when used by whites throughout the 19th century. Now, to replace this political correctness in the workplace and business labeling, we have to come up with another plan. In the workplace, colleagues need to make an effort to connect with everyone on a more personal level. They need to make actual conversation with each other, learn to treat each other like family, and then stop focusing on terms that create diversion and categorize people. And by doing this, we can have a workplace where these things come to fruition. So imagine a workplace where colleagues make genuine connections with people, as in the study that was mentioned earlier, the fear of constantly offending someone would be reduced. Minorities would no longer have to be afraid of raising issues they have in the workplace because they would not be afraid that they would be viewed as playing the underprivileged card. And then genuine communication can also take place. And when this happens, productivity would also increase. And then, however, we don't have to wait until all of us in the workplace to start this. We can make a difference now. The best way to be an inclusive society is to stop talking about all the things that make us different, because we are all more alike than we are different. We need to start making genuine conversations with our classmates and get to know each other on a personal level. And once that takes place, the differences between us will become less and less noticeable. Thank you.